Welcome to the open mic. We'll get going. Yeah, I know this opening was a little different, but hopefully this entire open mic will be a little different. First off, if you're new here, we do this call for you folks. MSPs asked to hear what was new with the platform, what we've been working on, what we fixed, and you wanted to do a little R&D or rob and duplicate of your MSP's peers and what they've been automating. Just a warning, this is a highly technical call. If you're an owner or not in one of the technical parts of your business, this may seem way over your head. This is a technical call. Hopefully at some point we can have business calls, but please listen in because there's a lot of stuff to learn to see what your folks can do with automation. Some of the same weekly reminders that I always give, we use Discord here. Before people used Discord, we used Slack. Before Slack, it was email. Before email, it was phone calls. At some point, there were carrier pigeons. It's just the evolution of technology. We still do tickets, just like when your techs talk to people on the phone, there's tickets. We do tickets, but we do use Discord because it helps create a community, and it helps, to be honest, for you folks to get much quicker service. You can just drop a instant message in your Discord channel and a ROC person will pop in there and answer it. Also, speaking of asking questions, I know approximately, by the way, we need 5 more people. Are we going to hit 200? Because I really want to say the announcement, 4 more people. I know approximately 1, 5, 10, 0 MSPs that have ever succeeded in automation without asking a question. So if you are being unsuccessful or having an issue and you've never asked a question, don't be a statistic. Drop a question in your Discord. Drop it in the coop. Maybe the community will help you out. Maybe one of my folks will. We want you to succeed with automation. Speaking of having us want you to succeed, don't forget about Flow. Could someone drop a Flow link? We're always accepting talks for Flow. I can't think of a cooler place to speak. It'll be, hundreds of people in the audience that all want to see you succeed with your talk, even if you're nervous as hell. So please practice that speaking muscle. Get in front of a group of people. They won't even know if you mess up. In fact, if you mess up, they may try to help you not unmess up right in the middle of your talk. Learning how to public speak is a great career step. It changes the trajectory of your life. 2 more people. 200.
Nope,
Someone take a screenshot. Someone take a screenshot.
201.
Missed it.
201.
Congratulations, Rewst.
202.
You
Like and
overshot the goal.
subscribe. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to see today. Thank goodness I don't have to pivot the company. It was a very stinky idea. Last week we had our company kickoff. And it all initially started, we do these bounties in the kickoff. And the bounties initially started as a thank you for the community for allowing us a week as a company to get together to plan for the year. Because when we do get together, our Discord response slows down. Our email stuff probably slows down. We try to keep it up as best we can, but it happens. The entire company is together in a room. With that, we have some gifts. The the gifts are, I like to focus on things that won't hit the roadmap. And so if it's something that you've specifically requested, it's not going to become a bounty. It's going to be on the roadmap, and we're going to schedule it to make sure it gets done. Bounties may never get done. So if what you asked for is showed as a bounty, that's not what you want. Also, just because you see it today doesn't mean it's coming out next week. If everyone starts blowing up my CS team at ROC saying, how do I get access to it next week? My team won't let me leak things anymore. I can give you some ETAs. The first thing that we're going to be talking about, Ashley, do you want me, before I talk ETAs and items, did you want to just get through the first part of the...
Yeah, let's do that.
Let me pass it over to you, and then you come back to me.
Sure. We'll just jump through. We've got education updates, a marketplace update, and then a marketplace demo. And then the rest of the call will be dedicated to stuff Aaron's talking about. So let's first jump over to Brandon.
All right. What's up, everybody? Glad to be back. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So first of all, I just want to say that it turns out potty humor does get people together. So we're just going to throw that one out there. Otherwise, we're going to start with my game tip of the week. First of all, if you have not played Fantasian yet, you have to play that game, especially if you've played Final Fantasy before. It is basically Final Fantasy with a different name, same creators. It's incredible. People drop it at part 2 because they are not good at video games. So if you're good at video games, play Fantasian and get through part 2. Also, Tales of Graces F is a really good one as well. So shout outs to that. But more importantly, shout outs to Jim, Nick, Bart, Will, Kevin, Brandon, Robert, Ariel, Bart, another Bart, Michael, Rob, Johnny, Chris, Michael, Pepin, I'm going to go with Pepin, Mark, Steven, for passing the Foundations certification. You guys will get your prestigious certified Rooster badge in Discord and get access to that super secret or not so secret channel. So congrats. Also, congrats and shout outs to Matt, Briley, Alexis, Balin, Amari, Joel, Corey, Jeremy, Ethan, and Dusty for passing the Clean Automation certification. Love to see that. We definitely think anybody who is building at Rewst needs to get both of those certifications. So for those of you who have gotten certified in Foundations but haven't checked out Clean Automation yet, definitely go check it out. Let us know if you have any questions in the Discord channel for CluckU or in the Coop. Otherwise, just a reminder for anybody who wants to take the Rewst Foundations Bootcamp live, the next ones are February 3rd and 4th with the legendary Eddie Chow, who will not only regale you with everything you need to know about Rewst, but he will regale you with stories of his own. So go check that one out. And don't forget, we also have office hours on Thursdays. So if you guys are going through the training, you're building, you're learning, and you want to jump in and ask questions, we have office hours for you to do so. So if the Discord channel is not enough and you want to get some FaceTime with that legendary Eddie Chow, hop in and we will be happy to help you out. Otherwise, some quick updates on the CluckU side. We have some self-paced onboarding stuff that we are working on right now, so more to come. Stay tuned. And we might have some additional building options for you guys coming soon as well that I may or may not be working on as we speak. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you know about that as well. Otherwise, you know the drill. If you have feedback for us, you can fill out these forms or you can throw all of your questions at George Smith because he is going to handle everything. Right, George? Right? That's why you're here. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Otherwise, as far as new and updated pages, we have some changes and updates to our IT glue page, the Halo integration page. Our components and pod configuration pages have also been updated. And we've added 3 new pages for adding Rewst flexible assets to the sidebar and IT glue, as well as tags and Rewst. And then we got that open mic up from our previous open mic. So that is it from me. Oh, by the way, someone did actually send an automated pigeon service. So if anybody is interested in sending carrier pigeon messages, particularly my way, let me know and we'll make it happen. And that's
oh
it
my
for me.
God, that's awesome. Is it actual pigeons?
Yes, it's amazing.
I love that. Okay. Everybody's getting swag that way from now on. Okay, now let's jump over to JP, Marketplace updates.
Hello. All right. For our Marketplace update today, we've got some exciting new releases. We have the new Microsoft user onboarding refactor, and we also have offboarding, which our very own Dan Hayes will be showing off today. I wanted to give a huge, these are completely new builds of those processes. They're modeled after our Google Workspace onboarding and offboarding that we previously released. Big shout out to Dan Hayes and Paul D'Amico, who really made those happen, and the rest of the team for all the testing. Those have been huge efforts, and I think they've gone really well. And we have those, and they're live in the marketplace right now, so you can install them and test them out yourself. They're if you're searching for them, they're prefixed with M365, and it's user onboarding and offboarding. We have a good number of bug fixes and just small enhancements to our existing workflows and crates. You can go through the list here on Rewst, docs.rewst.help. Coming soon in the pipeline, we have some automation toolkit crates, which we've created a lot of function-based sub-workflows where we've encapsulated common processes that kind of make it easier for us to quickly create new workflows. And these crates will highlight some of those function sub-workflows that we've created and make it easy for new and existing customers to hopefully quickly build new workflows. Both Pax8 and SureWeb have made some updates to their APIs that we think we can enhance the licensing process to make it more streamlined and consistent and easier for us to maintain. So we're going to be looking at that. And we are creating basically the ability to run on endpoints the Windows 11 compliant check test and building out a report for it. I think that's all for Marketplace this week.
Thank you, JP. All right, let's
JP, try not to be so excited.
I'll try and contain myself, Aaron, for you and the customer.
All right, let's go over to Daniel now.
Hey, so let me just go ahead and share my screen real quick.
What are you showing us, Daniel?
Offboarding. So let's see. Can you see my screen? Should have the.
Is this a new
offboarding?
offboarding?
It is the new offboarding. It's the refactored version. There's also some added functionality and bug fixes in it. Can everyone see my screen though?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So the offboarding workflow has basically been refactored. We've made it more modular. So, there's things like grabbing the user details, update ticket already existed, but then a lot of these can just be copied and pasted into a workflow should you want to steal some of this and duplicate it. But it will basically go through, and a lot of the functionality is the same. The form basically matches what was done in the V2. So I'll go ahead and just run real quick. One of the key things to note that came from the V2 was the additional field to select an Azure AD user so that we're not relying on matching logic, but that's been in the other one as well. But you'll see here it's basically the same as the V2 version. So I can go ahead and kick that off. I've run it quite a few times. It takes roughly 5 minutes. This environment specifically is set up as a hybrid environment. So it's using the Entra Cloud Sync, which actually that's one of the new pieces of functionality. Will actually kick off the Cloud Sync if AD Sync is not available. So while that runs, I'll just kind of go over what the ticket's going to look like whenever it runs. So this is one of the test ones that I was running earlier. So we can see here, it's going to start with just listing off the inputs that were provided and then a link to the workflow execution result. And then it will also state that it commenced. And then this is part of a different crate, so these two can be ignored. But then once it gets to the end, it basically gives an entire summary. So we can see here, the offboard completed, the user was removed from these groups, couldn't be removed from this group because it was dynamic group. And then we have a log of the automation. So basically for each individual task or sub workflow in this workflow, it outputs an entry and then it'll tell you what happened. So like specifically here, where it failed to remove that user from the dynamic group, we can see that clearly listed here. So let's see, let's go ahead and check on this one. So right now it's going through the change password. I don't know if anyone has any questions while we're watching this run. Yes.
Why did we do a new offboard crate?
Because there was a lot of technical debt, and one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was getting a lot of these sub workflows remade so that they're easier to use and just built up to best practices that we follow now. One thing worth mentioning too, although it's not available in this result just yet, I can show off that automation log. So each of these tasks has an alias that will typically start with log, and that's where we're pulling that information. At the end, that all gets combined, and then you can see the individual entries. You can also quickly see what errors were encountered, and then you can see the sub automation log if it was a sub workflow. Let's see. So yeah, that's kind of what there is to talk about with it. And it looks like, yeah, so right now we're on the exchange actions. This was actually one of the bigger reported bugs. For on-prem, in the previous version, the mail nickname was not being set whenever the on-premise user was having the gal hidden for them in an AD sync scenario. That's now handled. So that should work. That was one of the most reported issues with the previous one.
What does someone have to do if they want to start using the new one?
So they'll just go into the crate marketplace and they'll just look for the one named M365 user offboarding. One thing to note too, I did keep all the same inputs. So if somebody's using like a wrapper workflow, they can easily replace it.
Sam, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So in terms of it completing the exchange actions, is it doing that before the AD sync? Because what I've seen before is where it completes the AD sync and then obviously the user gets disabled in Entra and then it tries to convert it to a shared mailbox. The mailbox is already soft deleted or is no longer there. Is that a bug that has been fixed?
So that was fixed in V2 and that also is the same in this one. So the moving of the user to a different OU is now like one of the last things that we do to avoid that scenario. It's also worth mentioning one of the things that we accounted for in the exchange actions is if it just outright fails to convert the mailbox, then we're going to exit the workflow instead of going through and removing the license just so we don't have the mailbox get accidentally deleted or anything like that.
Jim
Okay.
Barry.
Great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't remember if this ever got into Canny or if it was just something we discussed at Flow with. I don't even remember the context exactly, but it had to do with OneDrive being part of the offboarding, especially now that OneDrives get really permanently deleted or start costing you money once the user is delicensed. Has that been handled at all?
No. And the reason behind that, and it could have changed since I last looked into it, but there's a limitation with the Graph API. You can't share the root folder of a personal OneDrive. I forget if that's the case with a SharePoint site as well, but I think that was the limitation now. They did add a lot more functionality, but that's like one of the major missing pieces.
Okay, thanks.
Jason.
Jason, well, you beat me.
Hey, how's it going? So one of my, I guess, let's say problems or issues or whatever's I've had with all these pre-built workflows you guys have is the methodology or mentality of having a unique form for each and every client, right? So like you direct forms, so you have a unique form for client A, a form for client B, and that type of thing. Is this workflow one of those types of situations where it's a unique form for each client, or is there like a client drop down? You can have one form, you can have a client drop down, select your client, and then it goes through the rest of the actions. That's what was one of my biggest annoyance with your pre-built forms is that your pre-built workflows is that it's always you have to hunt for that one form for the one client instead of having one form that they can just select the client you want to perform the action on.
Yeah, so it's still using the direct link per client.
Is that something we can look into doing?
Yeah,
Speak
absolutely.
to?
That's an
mean,
interesting idea, I think.
Yeah, it's speaking to it just, Jason, from input I've had from other customers is that they don't want their clients having to go through that list of all of their other clients. Like they don't want that information necessarily out.
Well, no, I'm not talking about for other clients. I'm talking about for internal my company use.
Oh, so you guys go and you're executing the form for a specific client. You want to get the delivery of that. So the form of forms, I think, is the best way to give you that functionality without also changing it in the crate itself. You give them the form where they pick which client and then which form they're looking for, and it's going to filter up that URL right there for them immediately.
Yeah, I haven't used that. I think I know of it. I've used it, but my biggest problem with that is all these random unpacks and all the forms are in there kind of make that list very cluttery. There's no, I don't know if there's a way in there. Once again, I said I haven't used it. I don't know if there's a way in there to distill the forms that the former forms can show.
Yeah.
So I had that same issue. Like I used the form selector form, and my management was like, "We hate this." So what I did is it's a little annoying to do, but I used that form and built smaller forms. So like I have a form that specifically has you select the client for that specific form that you want. So let's say I have 5 different forms that I want my text to be able to access. That's how I handled it, by making smaller forms that you just select the client you want for that specific one, and then it gives you that link. And I did that in the app platform page.
Yeah, this is a good app platform use case, but at the same time, our app builder. Sorry, I see people correcting us already. We should probably, Jason, peel off to see. I don't know how much time we've actually spent seeing if we can put a drop down for an internal use form that allows you to do a client selector. And I hate the solution on this call because we might be able to come up with something better if we just put our heads together on it.
Yeah, I mean, just my personal whatever that I've expressed on these things. It just makes it more difficult for internal teams to utilize the platform.
And you can put a bounty on it.
Yeah, maybe we'll put a bounty on it.
I essentially made a tenant picker. when I was making mine. It's essentially the same structure as the Rewst form, just with the tenant picker as a front page in front of it.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Awesome. Good job.
We're halfway through. We're going to hand it over to Aharon in a moment. There's 2 questions. Brian, you've got your hand up. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, really quick. I joined a little late, but so is this an M365 only form for clients that are not on-prem?
So this will cover on-prem with sync, on-prem no sync, and then Entra.
Okay.
Like,
I think it
only,
might be confusing for like level 1 text that it says M365 in the name. They're going to assume that it's like only for cloud-only clients.
That's a good point. Which that won't take too long to change. So
Touché.
yeah. No, that's definitely a good shout. So thank you.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yep.
All right. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Ash, want me to
Yep,
get
back
started?
over to you now.
All right. So this next thing you see, seat of the pants, you'll probably see it somewhere in the next 3 to 6 weeks. Remember, this was not on the roadmap. This was part of a bounty challenge inside of Rewst team during our kickoff. There's not a lot for me to preface on this first one. I'm going to pass it over to Daniel with an A. Is it you I want to throw it to?
Sammy.
Sammy
probably
and Tony. Yeah.
I think it's me. You can't call me Sammy when I'm the only one doing it, but that's all right. I'll accept the nickname anytime. I'm going to share my screen quickly. I'm not doing the actual live demo. I will hand over to Tony quickly after this, but I just wanted to share a why behind it. So I think we should see a start here. So a couple of us, Z, as most of you know, a developer on our team, Kelly Kronig, hope I'm saying her name right, a product marketing manager on our team, and myself were a team talking about performance optimization, and we wanted to both increase the actual like platform performance optimization, but also have in the back of our mind that quicker response times and also folks being more self-sufficient on the platform is also a performance optimization here as well. So we wanted to make sure we called out kind of the data around why this choice would actually help be a performance optimization in terms of load speed and things like that on the platform. And our goal here was to improve the searchability on the platform. So showing a video here of current state, I think a lot of you have seen this before. It's probably the reason we have a very long trending joke about folders and being able to really cleanly organize things, especially workflows, results, things along those lines. We have tags, we have, the attributes that are there, but there's not really a way to exclude any certain things that you might want to see there. And so our idea was to add the ability to better filter and search these results. You can see on the results page specifically, the last one was the workflow page. We're looking at results now. There's really not any way to filter other than typing in a specific name of a workflow that would take a little while to load. As you can see, this is why we need that that performance optimization, because it takes a long time to search through all the results there. And then all we're getting is from name, not anything further. So we put together a couple of different things for our proposed search optimization, including the ability to exclude certain things such as tags and attributes. I think this one is very popular, especially after you unpack a crate. Finding the top level workflow can be a little bit tricky if you can't exclude the sub workflows there. So we want to give you the ability to include attributes like crate, exclude attributes like sub workflow. Same would go for your tags and things like that. So that's the why behind this. And I think I'm good to hand it over to Tony on a little bit more of a live demo rather than just that screenshot.
Hello. I think this should be just making sure everyone can see.
Yep.
Okay. So here in the workflows, to find the top level workflow, just to demo it, we can go to our attributes, take out, we don't want any sub workflows, and we want from crates, and this should be super speedy. And then if we were to go to our execution history, we can now use a calendar to see executions from a date range.
Someday.
So
we get it. We get it.
My computer.
I know this is not live on the platform. Don't worry.
Some behind the scenes information. Tony got this up and running locally in the last probably 20 minutes. He had about 20 minutes to prepare for this. And yeah, just the fact that he got this up and running locally when another engineer did this work is incredible.
See, super speedy. Yeah. Yeah, so those two work as expected. Nice.
Thanks, Tony.
Yep.
Back to you, Aharon.
All right. So that was new and improved search and filtering. Some of the other things, I don't know how many of you like search for things in results and get a list and then drill into one of those search results and then you hit back and it's all gone and you have to do the search all over again. Hopefully that resolves that for us. Raise your hand if you do that every day. All right, a bunch of people. 7, we had like 7, 9, 10 people. And 12 end up doing this every single day, so you folks won't have to deal with that anymore. All right, this next one's got a lot to show, so I want to leave as much time as possible. Rewst. At Rewst, we use Jinja as our templating language. It's really is the best tool for the job. That's why we selected it. Another reason why we selected it is it's got built-in sandboxing support because we're executing your Jinja code on our servers. And the last thing we want is a security issue. And so built into Jinja is that sandboxing support. Also, other automation platforms use Jinja as well. And so sometimes you don't want to be the first because you may be making a bad decision. So one of the bounties was to see if we could get PowerShell working everywhere where Jinja works today. Not only did we get PowerShell working everywhere, the team did it in such a way that we can plug in additional languages, though PowerShell will be the first. Just to give you some ETA-ish, at least 8 more weeks until you see this in the platform. One of the reasons why we picked PowerShell It's just one fewer thing you need to learn to get up to speed in Rewst. And with that, we're going to hand it over to Pizza, who's been calling it Jowershell.
I mean, that is the official, unofficial name of our project. You know, trademark pending, of course. You know, we don't want Rewst to have all the fun.
As a PowerShell MVP, I agree with the name, and I think it should be the official name everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the pull with Microsoft, Kelvin, so I'm sure we can work something. But yes, as Aaron said, we are happy to announce a very, very early version of what we're calling Jowershell, which will essentially amount to PowerShell support within the same places that you use Jinja currently. The reason that we do this is to offer more opportunities for you guys to use the things that you know and love, but also to offer a little bit more flexibility and reuse of some things that you may already have. So what does that look like? Currently, this is just, we already have all of this deployed, but on the back end, you would essentially type in your host name, or we would use your Microsoft Cloud Bundle app setup to deploy a function app. And this function app, the trigger is probably going to change before you guys see it, but as it stands currently, this is just a HTTP trigger that is triggered in the same place that we will call Jinja. And all that means is right now, you'll use a secret key, and that URL, obviously before you guys see it, we'll add some more authentication mechanisms and things like that. But what does that look like? So here we are in the non-Jinja 2 live editor. It's now just the live editor. We have the ability to toggle on and off PowerShell support in our editor. You'll notice that all we're just adding here is just a small little identifier to let us know that we're actually using PowerShell, very, very similarly to how you might have seen ConnectWise Control identify PowerShell scripts over something like a regular batch, Windows batch script. So as you can see here, we're making a HTTP call to a dummy JSON website. This is just a sample API call. We're invoking a GET request, getting the users, and converting that to JSON. When we run it out, we should see that we're able to grab all of our normal data in the normal way that we would get it. This is something that you just can't do in Jinja right now. There's no way for us to offer the ability to safely make a web request, get the data back, and offer you the same amount of flexibility that we would be able to provide you by using PowerShell or Jowershell, whichever you prefer. So I went ahead and made this very, very simple workflow that kind of highlights some of the differences. We'll come in here and you can actually see that, it works very, very similarly to how we currently accept Jinja. We just have a string output here. Meanwhile, over in our Jinja output, we have just a normal, the way we would supply a string there. But it doesn't stop there. We're able to supply things in data aliases. We're able to make these kinds of complex queries from anywhere that we would normally use Jinja or alongside Jinja, in the sense that you can use PowerShell for one parameter, Jinja for another. You don't have to choose one per action. So, I mean, enough talking. We'll go ahead and run this and just show you the output. Hopefully the demo gods do me good, but I'm fairly confident that we're able to safely and more succinctly run things like our Jinja code the same way that we would run our PowerShell. But you're not missing out on any of the features either. So you'll notice here that we have our calls to our CTX variable. In PowerShell, we can do the exact same thing. We're able to reference our context the same way that we would normally be able to elsewhere. Now, it's worth mentioning that there's going to be 2 versions of PowerShell available to you. One, if you choose to do our Azure deployment, that will offer you the full set of all PowerShell functions. You'll be running completely on your hardware, only with the caveat that if you mess it up, we'll need to work with you to kind of self-heal that, and you'll just need to make sure you're not doing anything too intensive that will cause it. But we're trying to take steps ahead of time to make sure this is as robust as possible. The other version will be a local, very, very slimmed down version of PowerShell that only offers the same level of functionality that Jinja offers. This is to contain in that sandbox that Aharon was talking about, just so we're not running any arbitrary code that might cause issues or potentially cause stability problems. That being said, we can actually go back to our, let me see if I can pull up the actual demo workflow that we used.
Hey, Pizza?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was clear because it was really, really quickly gone over during the setup that the PowerShell is running in your Azure environment. Can you speak to that? Because people are probably all thinking about that while you're talking right now.
Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and connect to the invocation logs here. This is an actual function app that's running right now. Currently, it's not doing anything other than just kind of waiting for our commands and running them and returning the response. This can change depending on what you want it to do on the back end. Obviously, within reason, if you're expecting it to integrate with Rewst, we need the ability to, interface with these kinds of things. And as you can see, I currently just have it debugging the output. This is just for show, don't worry. But the more important bit is that you'll have more control over what's going on here. So you can see that we're actually just sending over what you're putting in that box and returning the JSON output. These things allow us, to do things that we would never be able to do inside our platform outside, Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, so we're sending your PowerShell to an Azure function in your Azure environment, executing that PowerShell, and then returning the results back to Rewst. So any of the filtering or any of the other stuff is going to your environment first. So if you try to write anything malicious to Rewst in your PowerShell, you're not writing it to us, you're writing it to you.
How are you capturing things like syntactical errors or other errors within the script? In Jinja, it's easy enough to find all that stuff.
Currently, I'll be honest, it is rather imperfect, so forgive any weirdness that we might encounter. But what I will say is that we should be able to. So if I just do like it should error out. Yeah. You can see here that there is a lot to go into this still in terms of error handling and things like that, especially working the same way that we want Jinja to work and the way that it's displayed. That being said, if we do things like I believe, my PowerShell is not what it used to be, so correct me if I'm wrong. I hope that works. Well, either way, the biggest thing here is that it will error the same way that Jinja errors, regardless of how it shows to you right now. The actual error handling will show through the same way. Let me see if I can.
Kelvin says that for those looking at price on the Azure side, Kelvin's saying 1 million executions per month is free.
Yeah, there's a couple of caveats to that because they consider executions anything running less than 100 milliseconds. If it runs longer than 100 milliseconds, you're paying for a specific execution cost. Just to compare, so people get an idea of how much an application actually costs in Azure, like an Azure function runs like this. An average SIP instance does 100 million executions per month and is less than $20, including the front end. So you in Rewst, you'll probably be looking at like $10 a month you'll be paying for this if you do perform all of your automations through there. It's really extremely low cost.
And that's really why we chose the function app route instead of like hosting an EC2 instance or doing anything really always on intensive. That can add up in costs super fast. We're really trying to hone this in before we get it into your hands, just to make sure it's safe, robust, fast, everything like that. There are plans to maybe move it over to an Azure Queue, maybe IoT Hub, things like that to kind of help alleviate some of the pressure or speed, anything to make this faster and more usable for you guys. That being said, again, like I've kind of tried to stress, there's a lot to go into this still, but we are really excited to offer it to you guys once we figure out and iron out those kinks. We've already talked about things like Python. We kind of had like a proof of concept as part of our original demo that showed off Python. I won't go show that here just because that's in Postman. But the idea here is that once this becomes more reliable, we're able to offer even more languages besides being, as Aaron, I believe you said out the onsite, this would make us one of the first multi-language RPA platforms, which I think is huge. And we only want to expand upon that further in the future.
People are asking when we'll do QBasic and Pascal.
Once function apps support things like, Perl and, Ruby on Rails, we'll offer those. Even PHP if you guys really want it. But they got to support it first. That's the biggest caveat.
So the goal is to lower the bar on what Rewst folks need to learn to get up to speed to writing their own custom workflows. Did you have anything else to show, Pizza?
No, that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything like that.
Question.
Yep.
And you might have showed this and I just didn't see it. Is that like is there a way to like switch back and forth between the PowerShell and Jinja and that workflow?
Yeah.
And the same actions? Okay.
So if we come back over here, you'll notice this little button right here.
Okay, cool.
And we can just turn that off and turn that back on. And that mainly only turns on syntax highlighting. This little bit right here is the most important bit for now, but that may change before you guys see it.
Okay.
Yeah, the same workflow though can have a mix of, you could use Jinja in one action, you could use PowerShell in another. That's fine.
Even in the same action, multiple different parameters can have the same or have different types, and necessarily don't need the right output anymore, but I think it's a little bit more verbose. So for example, if we run this, you can actually see that we have PowerShell and Jinja in the same action, just in different fields.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
But if you have a question, drop it in chat, raise your hand.
While people are thinking about their questions, one quick announcement I did forget to make at the beginning, that we want to remind everybody, if you haven't seen it when you're in app, there is a, like usually you'll see like the little tooltips and support. There's also our NPS survey that we surface to you in app. And so when you see that, it's just a little pop-up. It's like the 1 to 10, and it gives you the ability to add some feedback. That's something that's like watched and seen by everybody, and we really love getting those, and they help us and they directly guide our direction. So if you see those, please fill them out. They are really appreciated by us.
Thank you. Someone, see, Jonathan asked, did you talk about switching PowerShell versions? What's that like? I figure that's a Azure function thing, or?
Yeah, that would be handled on the actual setup. I mean, we can surely offer that to you. However, the main version will be on, I believe, is like 7, as it stands right now. But I'll put it this way, you know, once it's in your environment, we would probably offer the ability to choose which kind of PowerShell version you want.
Thank you. Kelvin says 7.2 and 7.4 are supported.
That's right. And 7.2 is on a deprecation path, so don't use that. They're no longer going to allow you to use that in the future.
So I said that I wasn't trolling when I said this will change Rewst forever. Raise your hand, click the hand button if you agree. Yeah.
36.
40.
All of a sudden, Teams gets rate limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reactions.
Super exciting.
Was I wrong in hyping it up the same as version control? I hope that wasn't overselling it.
Not at all.
Hype has
John.
been nuts.
Well, I'm glad I don't have to pivot the company now that we had over 200 folks on. We do have, I'm surprised we have 4 minutes left.
And we have 8 people who I'm not sure whether those are lingering hands or whether they have questions. If you have a question, leave your hand up. And if you don't, put it down. BJ, do you have a question?
I can't lower my hand fast enough. I've been
Okay.
trying. I'm a little slow.
I guess we'll skip and turn. Joshua, do you have a question? We'll skip Lucas just for a second because he's already had a question. Frank?
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys have you guys field tested with someone that doesn't really understand Jinja and does understand PowerShell, see what that kind of like barrier of entry would look like? I'd be interested. I have some guys on my team that are more PowerShell focused and really don't know Jinja. I would be very interested to know what that would look like for them in terms of like onboarding and using the platform. It's been a barrier of entry for us.
Well, we just got the functionality working to a point where we could demo last week. I fully expect that part of the release process will be creating documentation. Right, my fear of just getting it into their hands right now is there's no way, nothing for them to read to know how to use PowerShell and Rewst. So let's get that done, and we'd love to then get it into your hands.
That'd be awesome, man. Thank you.
Yep. We have one last person. I'm going to butcher their name. Hello?
Oh, it's just Haley.
Hey, Haley.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was just curious when the app builder templates were coming out, but I mostly just like the ideas I've seen and haven't had time to build them out myself.
Daniel, I think she's speaking to installation of app builder apps into her environment.
Yeah, we can, depending on what Rewst environment you're in. So if you're in the US environment, you can reach out to ROC. You can ping me if you want, or your CS in Discord, or however, whatever the best way is, and we can get those installed.
Owen.
Yeah, I don't know how that PowerShell is going to act in the back end, but would you be able to add functions and things like that custom, so that you can use those anywhere within your Rewst instance.
So access your own, yeah.
You'll be able to define anything in your, you'll control the Azure Function app once it leaves our hands. So anything that you put in it, things like your requirements.txt, or no, your requirements.ps1 would offer you the ability to do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kelvin.
That's absolutely right. So what you could do is the scripts that you currently use, functions that you currently use, you could compile them into a little PowerShell module and just upload it to the Azure function. Or you could make the module available in something like PowerShell Gallery and download it. Both ways will be like very easy to implement on an Azure function.
Sweet.
These demos today were a big thank you for allowing us to have a kickoff last week. We're working as quickly as possible to get these items into production for you. Please keep in mind the PowerShell is at least 8 weeks out, but you can see it is in a workable state. Also, just because we specifically demoed things that we're not going to make a roadmap. So if you had an issue or a new feature you really, really wanted, you don't want it to be a bounty. You want it on the roadmap because that means it's scheduled and it's actually going to happen. With that, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Pizza and Sammy, for your demos. Thank you, Ash, for getting this set up. And we'll see you folks in the coop. Help your peers out, everybody in the coop. Have a good weekend.
And thanks, Dan, for doing offboarding.
Dan and Tony, thank you guys.
Great work. Bye.
Meow.